I would now like to call upon the line President PDG, Dr. Anthony Cheung, OAM, to present an official welcome speech.
DG Vin, fellow lines, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of all the members of Sydney Chinese Lines, it is my pleasure to bid you all a very, very warm welcome to our Charity Ball 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. We are back in the convention center 2 years after the unwelcoming, forced break of COVID. And tonight, we have a very good gathering of guests and members and supporters. As a matter of fact, the support that we're getting from the community is so vast that today, and counting backwards 3 weeks before, the whole ball was a full house. If you are looking for support from the community, what better demonstration can you see? Over the past 20 years, Sydney Chinese Lines have been upholding the line's motto, "We serve." And our major strength is to fundraise in events like this. And when I say we are back, the first time I stood here as president in this Parkside ballroom here, it was in the year 2005, some 18 years ago. And between 2005 and the subsequent 9 years, we were having our annual function again in this same venue, the Parkside Ballroom. Then Convention Center was supposed to be going under renovations and refurbishment. So they stopped business for 3 years. We were nomads. We went to other places, including All Phones Arena, Dalton House, and so on. But as soon as the new Convention Center was up and running, we were back again. We were back in the Grand Ballroom for 3 years in a row in the year 2018, 2019, and 2020. And we were so lucky. In 2020, we held our event at the Grand Ballroom, but a week later, it was a semi-lockdown because of COVID, and 2 weeks later, it was a complete lockdown. And goodness gracious, we didn't know what we were going to do had the lockdown come earlier. But I think someone from up there must be smiling on us, and we were able to achieve what we could achieve without any major hassle. Now, over the years, we've raised, and the key word, we've donated, yes, close to $1 million to a good number of charities focusing on life-saving ventures, including the Royal Flying Doctors, St. John, the Care for Light, Alliance Clubs International Foundation, and our major beneficiary this evening, the Australian Red Cross. As a matter of fact, since the year 2006, some 16 years ago, we've actually selected the Australian Red Cross to be our major beneficiary of our ball on 4 occasions, and this is the 5th one. And to date, our donations to the Australian Red Cross amounts to $145,000. And we hope, of course, this evening, with your support, we will add to that, and we'll certainly pass the mark of a total or aggregate donation to all these charities of over $1 million. In the meantime, with all the charities that we've patroned with, we've become good friends and good partners. For example, with the Royal Flying Doctors, on one of their aircrafts, the medical cabinet they have on board one of the aircrafts, they have an acknowledgement acknowledging that it is sponsored by Sydney Chinese Lines. With St. John Ambulance, there are at least 2 ambulances going around Sydney, again, marking that it is sponsored and supported by Sydney Chinese Lines. CareFlight, they've got a number of vehicles and actually a revival center with a truck also acknowledging that. And I acknowledge Trent Osborne, their fundraising manager, being here this evening with his colleagues. Now, speaking of Australian Red Cross, our major beneficiary, we like the life-saving, we like their disaster preparedness operations, and that's why we keep going back home. And they're supporting us in a good way too, a rather big way. Tonight, there are 30 of their colleagues here, all paid up to support us. And also, apart from the top brass in New South Wales in John McLennan and Nick Cheung, we've also got their national top brass in President Ross Pinney. We welcome them. They say there are no free lunches. So Ross, John, this is what we're after. When our international president visited us in the year 2015, we remember we had a plaque being unveiled together with the international president with your full blessing at the headquarters of New South Wales Australian Red Cross. However, if you think it appropriate, after this evening, perhaps you might consider to recognize Sydney Chinese Lines by naming one of your more tangible assets as being sponsored by us. Please consider. I earlier mentioned we have the support of a lot of people in the wider community, but basically the major money churner or the major money income comes from our major sponsor in Home 789 through our Vice President Walton Cheung. Thank you, Walton. And also we've got another major sponsor from the Zilver Group. Now their flagship would be the 8 Chinese restaurant through CEO Henry Tang. Thank you, Henry. Coming back to us, we've also got sponsors like the Australian Chinese Jockey Club, Hang Fai Trading Company Proprietary Limited, Jenny Bay Diamond, Lyco Projects, Playco Architects, Sync Projects, and Viduno Australia. We thank them heartily. And on top of that, we made a new friend in Lotte Duty Free. I just met Crystal, and I just met the whole team. And thank you for all the vouchers, gift vouchers that you are giving all the guests. And we've got a mystery gift in silent auction number 16. Now, folks, we've got silent auctions over there. We work very, very hard for it. But we also want you to have an opportunity to wander around the room at your good time so that you can chat with others and so on. Now, that is for that purpose too. All right. Now, we've also got our corporate table subscribers, our advertisers, and our cash donors that we are truly grateful. Now, I've got one key person that I want to thank this evening, our MC, or your host, Simon Liu. And our 2 floor managers in Yami and also in Ho Ho, Francis. And of course, if you look around this evening, we've got a number of teams working. We've got the receptionist team, we've got the raffles team, which keep hassling you to buy this $50 pokers. We've got 4 sets of pokers going around, and that's all that we're selling, and there are 12 very lovely prizes. The average cost of each of those would be $300. So that's the average cost. Now, we thank all our teams, all our workers, the silent auction team, the open auction team, and so on. And of course, we'd like to thank our auctioneer, who's soon come to play, and that is Dion Wu on table 3. Thank you, Dion. And on this note, I'd just like to say, may all of you have a very enjoyable evening. And we have done our very best to provide the best entertainment in this lovely venue for you at a club level. And then, of course, just a few words in Chinese. 非常多謝各位好朋友今晚嚟繼續支持我哋悉尼華人獅子會，希望大家今晚可以盡情享受一個喺2年以來都唔係有好多機會喺一個咁好嘅地方仔仔一堂咁開心嘅時刻。多謝大家。